Bill, are you ready to take roll call?
Yep. Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed,
Present.
Jackson,
Here.
Lawler,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Branch, and Mayor Snyder.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So move. Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so we don't have any presentations this evening, but we do have a public hearing. So I will go ahead and open up the public hearing at 7:02 p.m. And this public hearing is in regards to our water systems improvement project. So if there's anybody within the gallery that would like to stand and speak to council on this topic, you have an opportunity to come forward and address council. Right about.
As part of like the public.
Yeah, that's part of the public hearing. Yep, all right. Mickey, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. My name is Mickey Bittner. I'm an engineer with Whiteman. Met most of you previously, but tonight, public hearings for the drinking water state revolving fund through Eagle, it's the Department of Energy or Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. And for a little historical context, some of you may remember this originally started out as a water project to apply to USDA for a low interest loan. And one of the first components we looked at was the city's water tower. And one of the Eagle recommendations is that you should have enough storage capacity to equal 1 day's flow, 1 day's usage of your water, which for the city here is about 1.25, 1.3 million gallons a day. Your current tower is about 500,000 gallons. And so one of the first times we discussed was we tear down the existing and build one larger tower. We have 2 towers. What does that look like? And council at the time directed us to look at 2 towers. A major advantage being redundancy in the system. So one can come down, the other one can keep your system up. So I know that may sound familiar to some of you, might be new to some others, but that's kind of where it started. And then through some change in staff, it kind of slowed and hit the gas, hit the brakes, and then which kind of ended up being a blessing, I think, because instead of USDA just has a loan program, and Eagle has this drinking water state revolving fund program, and which also is a low interest loan, but they do offer what they call principal forgiveness, which is essentially grant. And with a lot of the COVID funds, 3 major federal bills that have been approved, there is additional funding in some of those principal forgiveness, or I'll use the word grant just so people understand that a little better. Principal forgiveness sounds awkward, but there's been more opportunities, and especially for communities that qualify as overburdened. They have a calculation for that. And it does appear to us that the city does meet that criteria. So communities that receive that designation in the current fiscal year received between 50 and 100% principal forgiveness. There's 1 or 2 instances of the 100. Probably won't happen again. Indications have looked like they're going to scale everything back probably 1 notch on these going forward. So the top recipients will probably get 75%, but the majority of overburdened communities would probably be in that 50 or maybe even 25%, but most likely in that 50 is what it looks like. Again, that's just speculation. Eagle will have the final say on that. So I think when that became apparent, we said, hey, let's shift gears and go from USDA to Eagle. This makes a lot more sense. We think it's more advantageous. Historically, a downside for Eagle was that it's competitive. So you go through, you submit this project plan, and if you're not ranked high enough, you don't get funded. You can get kicked down to the next year. Whereas USDA, if you complete their engineering report, you're pretty much guaranteed funding. So that was why we originally went that route. then Eagle developed this overburdened community status. And that kind of changed the cards a little bit for us. So this seemed like really seemed like a no-brainer and a good opportunity for the city. So that's a little bit of the historical context. So what we did, we looked at a comprehensive kind of health checkup of the city's water system. And Eagle prescribes on this project plan, which is the report, essentially becomes the application. I think grant application, I'm thinking 3 to 7 pages. This is probably, this is about a 400-page report. I just think they're included in it, so it's pretty significant. But they prescribe what the items that we have to go through, and so we do kind of this health check. We looked at the city's water asset management plan, which is done, I think 3 years ago. The city has a water reliability study that's probably 7 or 8 years old. Looked at that. Talked to staff. We looked at the water treatment plant that was constructed in 2001, and starting to get a little tired in some areas. So we looked at some of the components, did an evaluation out there, looking at that. The recommendations out there: replacement of high service pumps, chemical pump enclosures, valves, filter media, removal and replacement, some HVAC and electrical repairs, and then some roof replacements out there as well. Another component, and real quick, so the main components of your system are water supply, water storage. So the supply is your wells and your treatment plant. Your storage would be your tower. Water distribution would be your pipe network that gets the water to all the residents and businesses. And kind of tying into that is water services. It goes from the main to the homes. And that's going to tie into some of the lead services. You've heard discussion about that in recent years, and we'll get into that shortly. So I mentioned the city's water treatment plant, water storage. I touched on that already. So to meet the requirement of 1 day's flow, looking at adding additional storage in the form of another second water tower. One thing we look at also is the population projections and U.S. Census data. We're projecting no growth for the next 20 years. That's just based on historical data. What we did look at is location for the water tower, and it seems to make sense out in the northeast part of the city. That's the 425 area, somewhere in that region. Because then you have your wells and your water treatment plant are up in the northwest corner. You have one tower, just north of City Hall here in the central part, and one out in would be a future industrial area to help serve the system from different locations. That's a strategic decision, I think, on that. I mentioned water service lines. We looked at the city has about 70 miles of water main, and I think there are over 100,000 feet of 4-inch and 6-inch. 4-inch are not even permitted by Eagle anymore for municipal systems. So a long-term goal would be for the city to retire as much of that and replace it with either 6 or 8 or larger, depending on the hydraulic needs. And also a lot of cast iron main. That's a material that was used 70 to 100, 120 years ago. Has some good durability, but it's very brittle. So as the ground shifts, it's subject to greater breaking, which can increase your operation, increase your maintenance costs. So the new materials are the ductile iron or plastic. Ductile iron is the most common one for water systems. So looking at replacing, when we looked at this, how do we select this? The city's water system could really probably use that $40–50 million range, but that's not really reasonable, didn't think, for an amount at this point. So we selected some again. Think of it as a straw. So we tried to fill this, increase the size of the straw from the water plant out to the new tower location in the 425. So that water can move and fill that tower and work its way back to the system. So there are some bottlenecks on that route. There's a lot of, there's some 18-inch coming off the water plant. There's some 12-inch, and there's sections of 6, and then back to 8, and then some 12. And so we're looking at trying to have one large straw, good way to think of it, from the water plant out to the new tower location. That was kind of our first priority. Then we looked at some other 4-inch and 6-inch lines to replace. And we really looked at where the greatest impact could be made from a fire flow perspective. So when water systems were initially built, it was just to get water to drink. That was it. As time went on, fighting fires became a bigger concern. And so now water systems are designed to provide fire flow of certain capacities to help public safety, take care and preserve properties when a fire does occur. So the next component we looked at, water service lines. As you know, there are lead water services have become a big issue in the state of Michigan. And I think the country as well. I think Michigan kind of led that discussion with following the heels of Flint. And we do know from talking with city staff that there are lead services. We've encountered some on some past projects. We did Irwin Avenue, we did find a couple, and we replaced them all the way to the house, which is required by Eagle. So we know that there are other neighborhoods that probably have a high likelihood of lead, although they have not all been investigated yet. But we anticipate approximately 20% of the city's water services to either have a lead gooseneck or be galvanized pipe that was previously connected to lead. Both of those can present a health issue for residents. So we thought this was a great opportunity to try and knock all of those out in the city system as well. So that really made a lot of sense. So what that we looked at when we did the kind of the health checkup of the system, we had to look at per Eagle several different options on the next slide. So one of the actions is always no action or do nothing. So that doesn't really address any of the issues as far as the water treatment plant, as far as storage, water distribution, and lead services. So that was quickly dismissed. The second one we looked at is optimum performance of existing facilities. And that's where we address the needs out of the water plant. We looked at, as I mentioned, the high service pumps. I went through the projects that we're looking at out there with chemical feed, replacement of some valves, the filter media that you use for iron removal, some HVAC electrical repairs, and some roofing replacements, and also the well houses too. We're getting those new roofs on the well houses as well. On the water storage, again, it's adding a new tower. Water distribution, we identified I think it's 9 different streets for water main replacement. North Eaton Street, Austin Avenue, West Broadwell, Michigan Ave, Burr Oak Street, Cass Street, Ann, Ash, and Ionia. And I'll have a map in just a little bit here that shows those. So that's the optimum performance of the existing facilities. And then another component that Eagle requires us to look at is regionalization. Can we combine our system with somebody else? And we would say Albion system is already regional. You have customers in Sheridan Township and Albion Township as well. So there's not really a nearby system that would make sense for you to connect to at this point. So that was kind of, I think the city already satisfies that one. So again, the recommended alternative is going to be the optimum use of existing facilities. So the improvements that were recommended out for water supply out the water plant, the water storage, adding a new tank out the 425 area to supplement the current 500,000 gallon tank to provide that 1 day storage. On the water distribution system, many of the streets would receive water main replacement along with new water services. And then all the services on those streets would be replaced, at least to the right of way. If lead or galvanized is encountered, it would go into the house. And then also look at the rest of the city's customers on any lead or galvanized services that are known. I'm going to throw in right now, you may recall the city did receive a drinking water asset management grant, DWAM, and we are just getting started on that because that was just approved, I think, late last year, early January, early this year. But we are going to Eagle's methodology. We're going to do some random potholing to identify and investigations on the interior of homes to look for lead or galvanized services. So Ideally, that would be done before we get to this project plan. We would know how many services there are, but the timing just didn't work out. So we're working off of estimations, and by the time hopefully by the time that funding comes through on this, we would have a solid idea on how many lead services there are. So we've included a budget line item to replace about 20% of them. So the next one does show a project map. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but I will just real quick run through these. So you guys have hard copies. You can probably see it right in front of you, and they're numbered there, but in the upper left corner, that's where the city's water treatment plant is, and one of the Star well field up that way. So that shows one location. The second one is in the far right side in the center of the page, number 2, and that's the proposed elevated storage tanks or a water tower. Excuse me. Then that would also include a water main extension to serve that tower. The third one is North Eaton Street, and that is from Mulberry to Broadwell. Water main, the rest of these are water main replacements. Austin Avenue from Arthur to Superior, West Broadwell from Second to Eaton, Michigan Ave from Park to Clark, Burr Oak from Michigan to North, Cass Street from Ann to Superior, Ann Street from Ash to Cass, Ash Street from Ann to Superior, Ionia from Oak to Erie, South Eaton from the south dead end up to Ash, Berrien Street from Pine to Booth, and Broadwell from Mallory to Jefferson.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the next slide looks at the project financing. And I'll start on the right hand side. So the right side, we've listed all of the different individual projects, and you see a total estimated project cost of $19.2 million. So then we look at, so how are we going to pay for this? Well, if you look at the left side of the page now, it shows what we've been told a good estimate for the fiscal year 24 interest rate is 2.5%. The fiscal year 23 interest rate right now is 1.875. But as you're probably aware, interest rates have been going up, and so that's what's estimated right now. We don't know that. That should be probably be released late this summer sometime. Eagle does allow you to choose either a 30 or 40-year term for financing, and so on here we've shown 40 just to reduce the payment. If the city were to receive no principal forgiveness or no grant offer, that $19.2 million will equate to annual debt payments of about $765,000. Significant payments, but corresponds with that 19.2. If the city received 50% principal forgiveness, that would be financing $9.6 million and would cut that payment in half to about $382,500. So much more palatable. If the city received 75% principal forgiveness, that would cut that one in half down to $4.8 million and result in annual payments of about $191,300. So one thing I will touch on is we would expect the city to get preliminary indication in August of this year on an offer and what might be coming. Eagle calls it their project priority list, the PPL, and that's typically been done in August, sometimes as late as October, but they typically have a preliminary one late in the summer. And we should find out, is there one, if the city's score ranks high enough to reach the funding threshold, because they will rank all of these. And like I said, it is competitive. If the worksheet that Eagle provided, that's done correctly and the city does achieve the overburdened community status, that's 20 points out of 100 that other communities receive. There's also a significantly overburdened status that would get another 5 points. The city on its own would achieve that, but there are some township customers that account for enough of the flow that the blended numbers end up in just the overburden status. So But when that offer is made, one thing I do want to be clear on, approving this project plan is not a commitment to spend this at this point, so. An offer would be made and the city could consider that offer and could make adjustments to scale back. You cannot increase at that point, but you could scale back, so. Let's say they offered, let's say 50% principal forgiveness. That would be borrowing 9.6. If at that time the city said, you know what, we think we can. Only swing $6 million, okay, we could scale back to 12. It would still be 50% principal forgiveness, and then you'd finance the remainder. So, but you have until, that offer is made or after that to make that decision. And the only thing I will just want to mention on that is it'd be something good to think about right now or the next couple of months, because this is a pretty sizable project regardless of if it's scaled back or not, and the design duration and permitting is probably a good 8 to 10 months. And so if the decision is suspended for an extended period, it could make it impossible to meet Eagle's schedule. So they have a really well described or prescribed schedule that we'll get into on the next slide, I believe, but the whole process does need to move along because there's a specific date that the closing will occur for recipients of funding for fiscal year 24. Going to the next one. So this ties into how to finance the project. So this assumes no grant or principal forgiveness, but the city would be looking at about a 50 to 55% rate increase to pay for this. Yes, very significant on the ready to serve and 20% on the commodity. So that is a very substantial amount, and not overlooking that at all, but I think that would make it very difficult to move forward, and not just for your community, but others that are in similar position. One thing I did learn from a rate consultant who works all over the state, but he said right now water system rates, the average one he said in Michigan is pretty close to $45 a month for a residential one, just as a point of reference. So yours is beneath that right now, but depending on what offer is made to the city, some adjustment to rates to pay for that, because those debt payments do need to be made from your water fund. Okay, I'm going to the next one is the project schedule. So walk through these. Here we are right now, May 15th, public hearing and plan adoption. This project plan is due June 1st, so a couple of weeks. We have several appendices to add and notes from tonight and so forth to get added in. I've got on there the project priority list sometime in August to begin the design in late August. I just mentioned kind of the need for that process. Eagle approval of plans and specifications and permitting by the middle of May of 2024, and to begin advertising for construction bids, opening bids in late June, tentative award at your July 1st, 2024 meeting. And then Eagle has a prescribed closing dates for that time frame of August 28th. So once that occurs, construction would likely begin in the fall. Some of the things in the water treatment plant will certainly begin and be done over the winter, but a lot of the other work is going to be the following construction season. So anything under a roof, you can do that all winter long if it's heated and cooled. Water main, we're not tearing open any roads in November, December. That's just not done in Michigan. So that would all wait till 25. We expect most of the construction will be done in the 2025 construction season, with final completion in spring of 26. Another component that's required, I promise this is the last slide, so bear with me. We have to look at social and environmental impacts of the selected alternative. So there are some beneficial impacts that we're looking at for drinking water quality, improving water distribution system reliability, and then elimination of the lead service lines for improved public health. At the water plant, everything there would be in the building or on the outside of the building. So we're not going to have any adverse environmental impacts there. The water storage, so out in that northeast part of in the 425 area. The route out there would temporarily disturb what's designated as prime farmland. Those that aren't aware, that land was previously disturbed about 14, 15 years ago. We extended sewer out there along the exact same route. And when we extended that sewer, the city did obtain easement wide enough for water main to go in there as well. So we were thinking ahead at that time. So that would be a temporary traffic disruption would occur, but local traffic would always be maintained. And then noise and dust go along with pretty much every construction project, but those are mitigated with dust control, mufflers on equipment, and limiting work hours. Those same concerns and benefits apply to the water distribution system. The water services, of course, have a positive health impact by eliminating the lead or galvanized previously connected to lead water services, replacing them with copper. One other thing, I guess in Calhoun County, it is known that there are some threatened or endangered species. In an urban setting, those don't really come into play because they typically eastern Massasauga rattlesnake, Indiana bat, northern long-eared bat. But if any trees do have to be cut down, they would be done during the specified time period, which is October 1 to March 31. We don't anticipate tree clearing at this time, but if it does occur, if it's required, it would be done during that time frame. And I know it seemed like a lot. That's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is it really, I mean, you find it?
Don't make it, unfortunately, we can't engage. I mean,
Because of the age of this one, what?
So. Can I
Gloria, after we're done, if you wanna approach council. Because we're still in the public hearing portion, and we can ask questions and then we can get back with you. Okay. Councilwoman Waller, did you have a question?
I did, just for clarification, maybe city manager can jump in. So we just up, our sewer rates. Is that right?
We did, we increased both our sewer and water rates.
And so we gonna do water again?
We would have
If.
to, yes, if. So as a reminder, our water and sewer funds, they are enterprise funds, meaning the fees that we charge for those services are supposed to generate enough revenue or funds to cover operational costs, maintenance, improvement, capital improvements, and things like that. So as Mickey stated, the payment for this loan, the loan payback would have to come out of the water fund. And to be able to make sure that we have enough to make that payment, we would have to look at what our current rate structure is and get it to a point where we are able to make that payment.
And it's just required.
It is. And unfortunately, I think we faced this with both our water and sewer. When you don't make annual increases, it puts us further behind. So when we do have to make an increase, it's more of a burden or a bigger increase than if we were to do small incremental increases each year. So we're just catching up with.
And just so you know, you're not unique in that. Many utility owners of water and sewer systems are finding themselves in that same position. So a system of your size, just for context, probably should be doing $300,000 to $500,000 of improvements per year.
Thank you so much.
The city did very minimal or none for probably 30 years or more. So your rates were low, but the system was not maintained. And so what happens now is a lot of things, the aging is all coming. A lot of things are arriving at the end of their useful life at the same time. And so it ties in, you know, those improvements got postponed. And now that time it's coming, and it's going to continue to come, because even with this, you still should have other projects that you should keep on doing. All the 4-inch and 6-inch water main I replaced. I mentioned all that needs to happen. Your water tower, if you remember, we were very fortunate. The city got a $500,000 grant about 3-4 years ago, and it was $510,000 to paint this tower right up here. So when that's time for the next painting in 15 to 20 years, I can tell you right now, it's not gonna cost $500,000. It's gonna be more than that. So, and that's just the tower. That's not even your main, your water main, or anything at the water plant, your wells, all those things require maintenance and periodic capital improvements.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Councilman Davis.
another question regarding the social and environmental in terms of what is going to be different. In terms of drinking water, what improvements are there? Are we adding fluoride or removing iron? I know the iron is going to be, but what about drinking water? I pay a lot of money to be able to drink water in Albion.
Yeah, so your water plant right now has filtered water that removes iron, and it is time for that to be replaced.
Okay.
So that's one of the major components that does not last forever, so that media would be removed and replaced with new filter media. So that ties into water quality. I don't remember if the city has any arsenic in its raw water, but the nice thing with iron removal is it's the same process for treating arsenic. So it would take out the iron, but also if there is any arsenic in the water, same process treats that as well. I don't recall seeing any PFAS in the city's water. That would be a different treatment process, but that's not an issue right now. Other than that, the treatment process is not being changed, or we're not adding new things to it, but trying to maintain what it's doing right now, treatment. And then the water quality, the big item, of course, is the water services, being the lead services or the galvanized lines that were previously connected to lead. Does that answer your question?
It does. The other thing that caught my attention in your presentation is we're not anticipating growth within the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's just based on the last 40 years of census data. So if that does occur, the city's water system it's properly sized to accommodate that growth. So it's just a requirement to project population over the next 20-year period, and you look at the last 40 years of data to do that. So
We are anticipating growth.
yeah, I think there's I agree. I mean, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of great things that are happening. I agree, but just strictly looking at the data that we have to do, it would indicate either a reduction or no growth at all.
Okay, so that may be a good thing you say that.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, did you have?
No, she asked the question.
Councilman Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Alternative means of financing this. I know, everybody's been burdened with, the higher, utility bill and the expenses that come along with those, especially the water bills. Are we looking at alternative means outside of, I know we got the grant recently, but so that we don't necessarily have to pass all these additional costs on to the taxpayers.
Yeah, so that's exactly why we switched from USDA, which was pure loan, to this Eagle drinking water state revolving fund, because it does offer some principal forgiveness. So this was a kind of a beacon going off, and when this came available, we said, hey, we need to shift gears here and go this route. We also are always looking at different funding. I heard you got a CDBG award for, I think, for a building, but we've also used those grants for infrastructure. So I'm thinking Irwin Avenue. That was one that was a 90% grant, and we included water main replacement in that one. So that was one that was a 90% grant. Is amazing. It's about as close as you can get to perfect. So we did that one right there. We did first, second, third. Wild and Hartwell, that was an MDOT grant for the roadway, but the city did replace the water main that was old and undersized in that neighborhood as well. So that was part of that one.
So there may be some overlap.
Yeah, I mean, so I think if another opportunity comes up that we can piggyback with this, to reduce the city's share, we would do that. But we're always looking for grant opportunities to utilize for that, you know, North Street, North Clark, all of those had grant dollars involved with those, so. And then if we can piggyback a utility project with that, because if we have a grant that'll pay for the road replacement. Now the water fund only has to get the plumbing, the pipe underground, whereas when we're doing just a, you know, like right here, if we're doing replacing water main on Broadwell. You know, in that case, the water fund is paying for the pavement removal, the pavement replacement above it. That all comes out of the water funds. We're doing it because of the water main replacement. So if we can find another source to piggyback with that, that either allows us to do more or reduces the cost to the city. Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mickey on this? Right, thank you for the information, for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Ms. Lopez, if you wanted to come forward and address council with your questions or concerns, you have the opportunity to do that now.
I haven't been to counseling in a long time, but, this past weekend, I, experienced something really, it really, concerned me.
Is it in regards to this?
No.
All right, so if you wanted, like, because you were gonna ask questions,
Yeah.
so specific to this item,
Mhm.
you have questions?
About this?
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Relating to that.
okay, so yeah, you can ask us the questions and then we can follow up with you.
Yeah. Well, like, someone on the council mentioned, yeah, I think it was Mr. Williams. I mean, everybody's, you know, utility bills have gone up in the last year or so, whatever. And, you know, with a new water tower, it's gonna increase the water bill more. Am I right or wrong?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet, so this is just kind of getting the information and the input. So then we know how to kind of navigate this process.
Mhm.
So nothing's being done yet.
Mhm. But, so, can I mention what?
We will have other public comment
Uh-huh.
in tonight's meeting, so yeah, you'll have another opportunity to come forth with your other issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the gallery would like to stand and address council in regards to our public hearing? All right, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:40 PM. All right, so can I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-11?
Don't move.
Support. City manager say.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as a follow-up to the presentation that was just given by Nikki Bittner, this is just a formal resolution that is required for us to submit our application to Eagle. As Mickey stated in this presentation, this is not a commitment. This is just putting us in line to apply for it. If we are awarded, we will see what their offer that comes from Eagle. At that time, we will see if that's feasible for us to entertain what they have offered us, or if we need to scale back in our project to make sure that we are able to handle the payment for the loan option. So I just want to reiterate, this is not a commitment, but it is just allowing us to apply for this funding opportunity. In city administration, we do recommend approval for this. I know that this has been in the conversation prior to my time joining the city. So I believe when Dr. Mitchell was city manager, you guys had started the conversation with getting that second water tower. And just to address your Councilmember Davis, the growth, although the data may show that no anticipated growth, I know with the new developments coming to surrounding communities, we are anticipating to see some growth in our community. So this not only better serves our current residents, but it just sets us up to further better support that new industrial industry need. Also the EDC president and CEO, Ms. Ammerman, she's also mentioned getting that second industrial park. So that will not only give us more water capacity, but also meet that requirement to fulfill that need as well. So we're just setting ourselves up to succeed.
Any questions or comments for City Manager Smith? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Public comments. So at this time, if there's anybody in the gallery that would like to stand and address the council in regards to an agenda item on the council packet, you have the opportunity to do that at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Aaron Powers. I am a partner and one of the principals and managing director of WCA Assessing. I'd just like to thank you for your opportunity to consider our services this evening. WCA is kind of a funny name. We actually started off as Wayne County Appraisal 41 years ago. And as we grew as a company, we kind of expanded outside of Wayne County and we service 39 other jurisdictions throughout the state of Michigan. Including quite a few on the western side, including Battle Creek and Kalamazoo and City of Portage, City of Galesburg. We have a pretty good presence here in Calhoun County. I myself am the designated assessor for Calhoun County as well as Kalamazoo County. We have just under, about 60 employees. And if you have any questions at the time where that item comes up, I'll be happy to answer any. Just want to introduce myself and say hello and thanks for entertaining our opportunity to provide that proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address council with regards to an agenda item? All right, consent calendar items. In our packet, we have these May 1 study session minutes, May 1 regular session minutes, along with the fireworks committee request to use Barnes Park for July 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-09? The resolution to award 110-114 East Erie Street CDBG project for Ken Miller Construction.
So move.
Support. Director Arnold, are you going to give us information on this?
Absolutely.
All right.
Good evening, council. Good evening, Mayor. What you have before you is a bid up for acceptance from Ken Miller Construction LLC for the construction services on the East Erie Street CDBG rental rehab program that we're engaged with Erie Street Apartments LLC and well, I can't remember the name of the other company right now, but what you have in front of you is a bid for the construction services on that project. This is a CDBG project, so it's being completed with funds from the state of Michigan and match funds from the local property owner. And this was one of two bids that we received and the only one within budget. We are recommending approval.
Any questions for Director Arnold? Okay, thank you, Director Arnold. Clerk Domingo, to take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-10? Resolution to award the assessing services to WCA Assessing.
So move.
City Manager Slater, would you like to give us information on this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the city, we currently have an agreement in place with B&V Assessing LLC. We were notified in beginning of April that they were looking to end their current contract with the city effective the end of May. So when we received that notification, we released a request for proposals. Through that RFP process, we received two bids, one from Joshua Cunningham and the other from a WCA Assessing. Upon review of the received bids, And then as well as reference checks, we are making the recommendation to move forward with WCA assessing. Within this agreement, it will provide a higher level of service to our community. As Mr. Power said, they have 16 or 17 staff members. 60, sorry. So better, through that and through all the reference checks, we received nothing but good feedback from all of the other organizations that they service. So with that, we are looking for a 3-year agreement. City attorney, he did review and he had minor changes. Both parties, we have agreed, and so we are recommending approval.
Questions for city manager Slater at this time? City clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the commercial garbage licenses?
So move.
Remember, we want to do I'm sorry, I just want to remind council, we want to do a motion to approve commercial garbage licenses for public services, including your own.
Correct.
That was gonna be-
So move. Support.
City manager Slater?
Yeah, so this is an annual license renewal. This is for commercial garbage licenses. So these, the 3 companies, they come in and service our businesses within the community. As mentioned in the study session, there is one who is out of compliance, or I don't know if you want to say default to the city.
Yeah.
So once that issue is cleared up, we will bring that license back to city council for approval. So we are recommending approval of the 2 other licenses.
Questions or comments? City clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve of the mechanical amusement device licenses excluding Red Box Automated, which is currently in default, so we will approve the Leisure Hour Club and the Sport and Stores Family Fair.
So move.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. So similar to our commercial garbage licenses, this is a yearly annual license renewal. This just allows these organizations or businesses to have any gaming device, musical, like boombox type of things within their facility. So we are recommending approval for the Leisure Hour Club and the Spartan Stores Family Fair.
Any questions or comments? City clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the McLean Equipment rental agreement for the street sweeper?
So move.
Support.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So included in the packet is a street sweeper rental agreement with McLean Equipment LLC. This is to rent a street sweeper for 1 month. Although the agreement is a total of 6 months, so if we see that we do need it longer than the 30 days, we have that option within the current lease agreement. This will just allow us to sweep all of our roads. Excuse me, as discussed in the study session right now, just renting is our best option because we have not budgeted to purchase. However, we intend to get something for a better long-term option. So we will be discussing that as we prepare future budgets. This will be paid out of our solid waste fund, which is an eligible expense. For the month, we're looking at $11,790. So we are recommending approval. And if I didn't say, we received this quote through MIDeal, which is a service through the state. It gives state bid pricing, which is usually the lowest price for different pieces of equipment and things like that. So we are recommending approval.
Questions or comments for City Manager Snyder? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed, Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Next is our discussion on the Berrien Street Autism Awareness Road sign. Councilwoman Lawler, do you have information for us?
I do. Thank you so much. Out of 30 houses, I surveyed to see if Berrien Street wanted a sign for autistic child that lives on our street. He does run out in the street, so the father and I talked to him one day and he thought it was a good idea to at least try to put up a sign to try to slow the traffic down and make people aware of the child. So out of 30 houses, I got 11 responses. 10 said yes, 1 said no. So I'm bringing it to council to discuss it and approve that we get this awareness sign to help us out in our on Berrien Street.
Do you have questions for Councilwoman Lawler or input or insight? Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes, I guess I would just ask Colin. How do we do this on other streets as well? Is there a percentage? Does that have to be so many children? Just so we can get a clear understanding if someone was to ask.
As long as it's not a state trunk line or a county road, and my understanding is this is a local road unless I'm mistaken, there isn't really a process. I mean, it's just something that council would have to approve the expenditure of if it's a non-budgeted item. There aren't, to my knowledge, distance requirements or in terms of if there were more than one or whatever. Obviously, there's distance requirements from the road and things like that. But that our public services director, I'm sure, is familiar with. It's just really a matter of how many signs and the cost and where they need to go. But we have a lot of discretion because it's a local road.
Okay.
I will say if council, if you're aware of other areas that may have residents who they have autism or it may have children who are autistic, I would also just bring that information to us if you're looking to add other signs to bring awareness to that area. It just would help provide safety to not only that individual, but then everybody in that community or within that neighborhood.
Thank you.
Have we seen these type of signs before? I guess I've heard them.
I have seen one sign, so that's why I really was talking to him about it, because I did see one sign around Albion. I haven't seen, I think I want to say, don't quote me on it, but I think around Arthur Street. Behind the chiropractic, that street behind the chiropractor.
So
I've seen them different times. It said deaf children.
I've seen deaf children, but I haven't seen.
Okay.
Attorney Harkness.
Well, I guess I just offer a suggestion. So, the city manager suggested, and obviously Ms. Lawler's identified one particular area of the city where this is a need. Rest of council may want to determine whether or not there's a need in their individual precincts. And then in the interim, Director O'Brien can maybe seek out what the individual cost per sign is. And then once you know how many you need, he can give you the cost per sign, and then you'll have some more information to go on and you could vote to approve or not. Because it's probably not something that's been budgeted, but I can't imagine that street signs like this are an exorbitant cost, but that way you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You can figure out where you need to put them, and director can figure out how much it's going to cost the city.
Director O'Brien, you have something to say?
Yes, I would like to give you all a little bit of information about two signs we erected last fall on Lincoln Street and I believe Clinton on the south end of town, deaf child area. Signs were $47 and some odd cents each. The post we had to call locates and put them in. I want to say the total cost, including time and material with our employees, was somewhere around $214. Erect two signs that say deaf child area.
So, and again, I haven't seen any sign that say or specific to autistic children.
I've seen one somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm preparing for tonight's meeting. I Googled or looked them up on the internet. They do have them. I've seen smaller signs that people may have had at their driveway who may have children within their home, but they do make larger street signs to just make people aware. So if you can, I guess, survey your precincts, if you know about any other areas that may benefit from having one of these, please let us know. We can pull a few different designs or different type of signs, and we can provide that to council along with the cost, and then we can just make one order to get them ordered and put up.
Yeah, because you do have more than just your area.
Yep.
That has the autism. From North Street to Pine.
What is what is the basic policy? This, I assume, probably is an elementary child. So once the child has grown up and left the area, is the sign removed? Or how is that?
It may not necessarily just be an elementary child. There could be an adult or a young adult who may live with their parents or live within that area who may suffer from this disability. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a children. I think just bringing that awareness will impose safety
Right.
to anybody who suffers from that.
I thought she just said autistic child in the area.
Oh, it could be, but I think we would, because I don't know, we don't know if they're planning to leave, how long they'll stay in that area, but as long as we have that sign up, we'll just bringing awareness
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, no problem.
Councilman
If it's anywhere near a busy street, you need.
Thank you so much. Actually, he is 23 years old. The father shares responsibility with him. So he does run out in the street. I have seen it, at least twice this past summer. I guess I don't know what other information we would need, but he is not a child. He is 23 years old.
No problem. Just wondering, because we have a service facility in my precinct as well. So that may be something I need to look into.
Councilman Williams?
All right, so as not to prolong getting a sign put up, do we need to, should we set a date for approval?
So I guess city manager would like each of you all to try to, I guess, get a sense from
Survey.
your precincts, if
Yep.
there's any others that need to get ordered, and then
We have 2 weeks in between this meeting and our next regular meeting, so that should give you time hopefully to reach out, see if there's a need in other areas. If we, after our first June meeting, if you come up with it, we can always bring that back to purchase more. But then in the meantime, we'll start pulling quotes for signs and design and make sure that we can get that taken care of at the next meeting.
Attorney Hartnett.
So yeah, that way, following up on what the city manager said, and when you can just have an agenda item at your next meeting that, you know, she'll take the number of signs that council gives their feedback on and have a total number for you guys to approve as a kind of out of budget, you know, item.
Perfect, thank you.
So you can get the information back to me by Monday, the 29th, that's Memorial Day. So Tuesday, how about Tuesday, May 30th? You can get me how many signs you would need within your precincts.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right, our next discussion item is the Wiener Drive improvements, Woman Davis.
Yes, I think we may have updated information
Right.
from Sir Kevin.
Director O'Brien.
Kevin, if you don't mind, if I share, and then I'll
Please.
please weigh in. So after our last meeting, Director O'Brien and I, we connected on this and we discussed, we obviously know that that roadway is in poor condition. When looking at it, I spoke to Mickey Bittner with Whiteman regarding the request on looking at repaving that roadway. And there is draining issues that have kind of caused the road to deteriorate. And so if this is something council wants to pursue to have that repaved, we're recommending that we look into drainage or maybe redesign of that roadway. Obviously, that's going to increase the cost for that instead of just putting a fresh coating of asphalt. But that way, if we're going to do this, I'd rather do it the right way instead of just putting down asphalt and then we're talking to Mickey probably 5 to 7 years where may not be in the shape that it is, but we're back dealing with potholes. So he is going to look into that, give us a design or total cost for that. I know Director O'Brien, he did get a few quotes though to go that asphalt route. But I think we've talked about it. We want to make sure that we're doing the best. Making sure we're doing the best solution instead of just spending some money to have to turn around and do it all over again. Feel free to weigh in if I've missed anything.
So I did receive 2 asphalt bits to overlay the community drive from Watson up to the Tractor Supply parking lot, 43,000. And the second bid was 42,000, and I'm waiting on a third bid. But I agreed to secure any investment of that nature. The drainage needs to be looked at, and in order to secure the road for 10 to 12 years versus 4 to 5 years. Yeah. Plus, we also had an issue with some drainage getting into the carriage apartments from that road. That was a whole nother thing that came up that I think needs to be looked at professionally.
But as we discussed at the last meeting, I think if we're going to pursue this project, I would want to reach out to the businesses to see if there is buy-in from them to support this. Because we all know that there's no shortage of needs within our community when it comes to streets. So I know I would just be hesitant to just fully fund this project when we know a lot of residents came out to all of the town halls that we had last year wanting to know when their streets will be addressed. So if we can get buy-in from the businesses to support this, I would fully support moving forward with this project. I just want to be mindful that we're listening to what the residents' feedback what they gave to us last year during those town halls and making sure we're coming up with a plan to address their roadways as well.
All right, thank you all for that good
Yeah,
information.
I think that's very important. And, when it first was brought to my attention, the buy-in from the businesses was one of the major components, of getting it done, if we can get it done this way. So, Mr. O'Brien, are you saying that once the drainage issue, we will still be able to use the contractors or the bids that you researched? I mean, so with that would go here. This is just additional, right?
It is.
Drainage.
I think if we'll work with Whiteman to have them design that to build in some of the draining, the stormwater aspect to that road to make sure that it's properly collecting that runoff of the water. And then we would probably handle it like any other road project where we would put it up for bid and allow for construction companies to bid to repay that.
Thank you.
Future agenda items. Any items council members would like to see brought to the forefront?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes, due to one of my constituents on Urban Avenue, there was a question raised about, let's get this correct. So cross connection control program testing notice.
Yep.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
So I'd like some more information about that so we can help get that settled with her. Because if she has a problem with that, someone else is gonna have a problem, because there's a lot of individuals out there that do have sprinklers. So I need to know exactly what is that and the information you would give an individual to be able to rectify this, because I don't think enough information was given to her to be able to rectify this. So if we can bring that back up so we can help who all might have this problem as well.
I will, and just been speaking to Superintendent Heston regarding that issue because he was out all last week. That requirement is tied to an ordinance. So once I get that exact ordinance number and their requirements, I will make sure that's provided to everyone
Okay,
at the next meeting.
thank you so much. And then the other thing that I wanted to is I brought up in the recreation, and I do see that Al is here as well. I wanted to know an update about the Barnes Park. I see that you sent him an email, but we need to know about that ASAP because we know that the fireworks is coming up soon, so that we can get that area taken care of as soon as possible, which is the Barnes Park.
Any
Thank
other, yep, any other future agenda items? All right. I'll move on to public comment. So at this time, if there's anybody in the gallery that would like to stand and address council, you have the opportunity to do so. So Ms. Lopez, this would be your opportunity if you wanted to stand and address council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a group called 22aday.org. This is a group out of Ypsilanti. The mission of this group comes off of one tragic number. It is noted by the VA, and this unfortunately is an old study, 22 veterans a day commit suicide somewhere in our country. So what this group does is they provide crosses. And I worked with the city manager and a few other people, and we are going to bring this to Albion. We're going to start June 1st through June 30th. And we'll be in the cemetery between the river and the mausoleum in that big grassy area. We will be putting out 22 crosses each and every day for 30 days, a total of 660 crosses to bring some awareness to the suicides of veterans in America. Now, to help make this a little more, bring it home as it were, there will be Sharpies available. If you know anyone, or if you know of a family that has someone who was a veteran that committed suicide, please come down and put their name on a cross. We can bring that home to Albion. The plan at this point is to leave those crosses standing through July 4th. I have flyers here. I will put them on the corner and you can take them at your leisure. Any questions?
So who's going to put the crosses out?
I am.
Would you like some help?
No, ma'am, I've got all the help I need. It only takes like 2 people, and with the Legion has it covered.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you all.
Okay.
That would be
Thank
a
you.
great service.
Just to address your concern. Our service officer, Mr. Savage, has been working, he works with Home Depot quite heavily. Right now, we are looking at Home Depot possibly supplying the things that we need to do what we had discussed, redoing the picnic tables and doing a lot of cleanup down there. The Home Depot's kind of dragging their feet a little. It may be into July before we get a chance to start on the picnic tables. But through the month of June, I want to work on the cleanup of the park itself. But we'll get that part done while we're waiting for funding to go ahead and do the picnic tables.
Okay.
We're not going to let it fall.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Neil, I'm sure you'll let us all know if you need assistance with the cleanup as well.
Mary.
All right, let us know when and where.
Yes.
Anybody else would like to stand and address council? All right, city managers report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So a copy of my report was included in the packet. I just would like to highlight a few things. So our wastewater treatment plant project, it has been put out for bid. A pre-bid conference will be held on Wednesday, May 17th here at City Hall with a plant tour to follow. Bids will be open at 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 31st. And with a recommendation to award the project will be presented to council for approval at our June meeting, with construction anticipated to start on July 10th. So I'm very happy to see that project move forward and be at this point with that. So that will bring huge improvements to our wastewater treatment plant. I attended a USDA Rural America Placemaking Toolkit webinar on Tuesday, May 9th. The webinar provided great information on placemaking and tools that are available for rural communities. For those who don't know what placemaking is, it's creating a place where people want to live, work, and play. So that's making sure we put in a lot of work to enhance our park spaces and our public gathering spaces to attract people, to give them something to do when they are not going to work or going to school. I know we've been talking about bringing new housing and new businesses. All of those items go into really enhancing placemaking and making our community a desirable place to live. So I'm glad I attended that webinar. The 2023 farmers market, the season will kick off on Wednesday, May 24th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Stauffer Plaza. So if you're available, please stop down every Wednesday evening or late afternoon to check out the farmers market. The 2023 Memorial Day Parade will be held on Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. Service members lost at sea will be honored at this year's events. So city officials and elected officials are all welcome to participate. Lineup for that parade will begin at 9:30 over at Marketplace. So that parking lot right across from the subway. So if you're available or around, please come out, support that wonderful event and honor those who have served our community, our country. I did send an email out to council, but I just want to formally announce. So we're looking and talking with Director Avant regarding just ways that we can boost morale for our employees and then maybe attract and retain employees. We're looking to implement summer hours for City Hall. So summer hours will begin on Tuesday, May 30th. They are Monday. City Hall will be open Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Fridays from 8 a.m. until noon. This will run through Labor Day. So we will return back to normal hours of operation that Tuesday, September 4th. I have one day. So please just inform your constituents of the upcoming summer hours. We have posted signs on both the front and back entrance of City Hall, as well as we'll post on our Facebook and then our website. But the drop box and then online payment option will still be available to residents to utilize when we are closed. But we are looking to try out summer hours this year and see how that goes. I'm very excited to announce the Macintosh Splash Pad will open at 12 p.m. on Friday, May 26th. Hours of operation will be from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. 7 days a week through September 5th, Tuesday, September 5th. Right, are my days? Yes, through Tuesday, September 5th. So please spread the word. We're looking to very excited to have a full season of operations up at the Macintosh Splash Pad. So please come on out when that is turned on and enjoy that wonderful, facility here in our community. And then just want to remind everybody of our citywide cleanup event. It'll be held Saturday, June 24th at Ketchum and Harris Field from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Included in the meeting packet was a list of acceptable items and unacceptable items. This will be shared to our Facebook page as well as posted in the newspaper so that residents are aware of what they can and cannot bring to that event. I'm also happy to share that the city's website, we're in the final stages of updating that. They are currently doing the final mitigation from our old website to our new version. So we should be live with the new website by the 1st of June. I know in talking with Clerk Domingo, we are very excited to introduce this to our community. It's a lot more user-friendly, easy to navigate and find things on the website. So please stay tuned for that. I talked with Dick Porter, Sheridan Township Supervisor. As we talked about past few years, they have allocated their the county parks millage to fund projects here in the city since they do not have any park spaces within the township. He shared that they are looking to begin the replacement of the roofs at the shuffleboard courts to update those structures. They will have steel or metal roofs. There is $756 they're looking short for that project. As we talked about when we presented our estimated allocation for this year, we did set aside some funds to cover that shortage. So I told them to go ahead and move forward. So they're very excited to get started with that project. And then I just want to remind council this Saturday from 8 to 10, we will be gathering together to do a tour of the city. Krista Edwards with the Land Bank will be joining us. Director Arnold will be driving us all in the recreation vans. We'll come out and just take a tour of the city, look at different areas of the community and yes, we'll meet here at front of City Hall and kick that off and wrap up so you all can get back to your weekends. 8 o'clock. There's also updates from all of the individual departments included in the packet as well. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The question for city managers later.
Oh, I got a question.
Councilman Williams?
I don't know if it's a question or a statement. The website. I used to be able to go on the website, find the agenda packet and access the calendar and the YouTube page. Currently, I'm having trouble accessing any of that stuff through the website. I don't know, I can't even find the old link that I could use to get to it from before. So if we can take a look at that to try to see, what the hiccup is.
If
I
you,
appreciate it.
yep, it's probably because they're transferring everything over to the new platform. So right now, can you still aren't on the website?
No.
So you have to, YouTube, you'll just go to YouTube and type in City of Albion, and then you'll be able to pull up all of city council meetings that way. But right now, like we can't edit our website and you may have hiccups while they're trying to transfer stuff from the old website to the new. So that could be part of the issue, but if you want to review any videos, you just go directly to YouTube and
I got you. As far as the public being able to view the agenda packet, is there currently a link on there somewhere? That I just haven't.
You scroll away to the bottom of the page.
Where's that at?
It's at the bottom of the webpage.
All right, I'll go over that
That's
with
where
her.
the change
Okay,
with the new website. That's where we had the house up to now.
all right, perfect. That's good. That's good. I must have overlooked that. Well, no, I was doing it on my phone and it's different, so maybe I'll look at it again. Thank you.
And yep,
Couple of things I wasn't focusing when it was our time to talk. The 27th of May at Highland Park, we're gonna have a park clean from 9 until 12. So anyone who is available to come out and help us, we're gonna get the park cleaned up because on June the 17th, we have the Juneteenth celebration there. Mayor, I'll get with you on that.
any other council member comments?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Just want to tell, just the public, thank you for helping to have that sinking fund to be passed. That was passed. So looking for great things out of that. And then also tomorrow we have here the job fair. Yeah, that is tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. and that's for youth, teens, however you want to say that, from 15 to 24 years old. And that will be at the Marshall Opportunity High School, 225 East Watson Street. And that's from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So just looking for individuals to go out and see if they can get a job from some employers. So that was just exciting, some exciting news. And Albion. Thank you so much.
Any other council member comment? All right. Do I have a motion to council member French?
So move.
Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned 8:20 p.m. Everyone have a good evening.